Alrighty, so in this part of the series, what we're going to be taking a look at is NPM, or the Node Package Manager. Now, this is one of the most important aspects to working with Node, no matter if you're going to be doing application development or writing your build scripts. So NPM is a package manager, pretty obvious based off the name there. And what it's used for is distributing different packages, different pieces of software that you can reuse in your application. Now, the great thing about NPM and the packages that are on there is they're super modular, and they tend to work very, very well together. So in this particular video, what I want to do is introduce you guys to a simple global NPM package and just talk a little bit about where those packages go and how they're invoked. So it won't be a very long video, but let's go ahead and get started here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to open up a command prompt and I'm going to use the NPM tool. Now you can learn a lot about the different options in the NPM tool by doing --help, and it'll give you a variety of different commands that you can work with. Now fortunately, yeah, you see a lot of commands there, but fortunately there's only a handful that we really need to be aware of. So in this video, I just want to show the installation of a global Node module. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do npm install, and the package that I'm going to install is just going to be a basic HTTP server. I just want to show you guys this because this is one of the really cool things about, one of the cool tools that you can get through npm that I use regularly for various purposes. And it's HTTP server. If you go to npmjs.com and type in HTTP server, you'll get a nice little bit of documentation on how it works. So I use this, so I figured I might as well show it to you guys. So the syntax is going to be npm install HTTP server, but we're going to be installing this globally. So the first package we're going to install is going to be globally installed for my particular user account. And I'm going to hit enter. And what it's going to do is it's going to go head off to the NPM registry and download this. And it's also going to download all the other dependencies that come from the HTTP server. In fact, it was very nice of us to actually tell us exactly which packages it downloaded. And you can see it downloaded HTTP server, but it also downloaded all of these other packages. And these packages are dependencies of it. So basically, now that I've downloaded HTTP server, I can go ahead and just type in HTTP-server. This particular Node package, like a handful of different packages you can get off Node, contains a globally invocable, not binary, but a globally invocable script. So I can go ahead and hit enter. And you see now, by typing in HTTP server, we just installed this. This was not on my machine at all. We are now serving out all the files in this directory. So for example, let me Control-C this for a second and open up code. So that popped up over here. And so we have code open, and then let me go ahead and just run HTTP server again. So I'm running HTTP server from this directory. And notice all the things it's listening on. It's listening on every interface on my machine on port 8080. Okay, so if I go ahead and up here and I create a new file, let's call it index.html, and I go ahead and say, hey there, I know this is not valid HTML yet, but I just want to show you guys it working really quickly. And I hop on over to HTTP localhost 8080, and you'll see we get our HTML document served. So you notice right here, you'll see the requests, the methods, the paths, and the user agent. And notice how my browser is asking for the favicon, but since that file isn't present, the server returned a not found. I am going to do a little bigger of an example here for this HTML file for people who want to learn a really cool trick about Visual Studio Code. But for everybody else, let's just go ahead and really just take a quick look at where it installed this to. So notice how it installed it to C users Nelson app data roaming npm. Remember that was the path that got added to our environment, our path environment variable during installation. And so let me go ahead and open that and show you guys what it looks like. Because understanding the file structure of NPM modules is really important. We'll learn a little bit more about it in the next video. But for now, if we open up that directory, now this directory, as you saw earlier in the series, was actually completely empty beforehand. Well, except for we had the etc npm-rc, but we didn't have any of these files. By doing that global installation of HTTP server, we now have all of these files. So if we open up Node modules, we see we have the HTTP server module. We open up HTTP server, we see the server itself. It has a Node modules, and then it has all of its awesome dependencies. And then you'll also notice that we have our CMD file. So remember, this was added to our path. So from anywhere in my system, if I'm on macOS or Unix, it'd be my terminal, or Windows would be my command line. I can just type in HS or HTTP server to get the same thing. All right, that's really all I wanted to talk about as far as installing with this -G flag in this series, or in this video, because we won't be installing a whole lot of things globally. It's not best practice. We'll talk more about that in the next video. But for you guys who might be a little bit interested, I want to show this really cool feature of Visual Studio Code. It's not a unique feature to Visual Studio Code, but it is something that if your editor supports it, I highly recommend you get accustomed to writing HTML like this. So let's just start off with our doc type. So we're just going to do a doc type HTML. Now, well, basically what we want to do here is we want to create our HTML root element, our head element, and our body element. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to type in HTML, and then I'm going to do a greater than head plus body. And now I'm going to hit tab. And then for the head, I'm going to fill that in with title something. And then I'm going to hit enter. And then for the body, I'm going to hit H1. And then I'm going to hit tab, and I'm going to say hello world. So you see that we can use kind of a very CSS similar, a syntax similar to CSS to quickly generate elements. And I highly encourage people, if your editor supports that, to really get used to doing it. So for example, maybe a little bit of a bigger example here. Let's say that we really quickly wanted to create let's say an ordered list of 5 links, of 5 anchor tags. What we could do is we could say something like an ordered list OL greater than, which means add the next element as a sibling, LI, and then I can say times, did I say 5 or 6? Let's just say 5, times 5 to do it 5 times, and then another greater than to do a sibling, and then an anchor. And by doing that, and then hitting tab, I now have this ordered list of 5 anchor tabs. And every time I hit enter, or if I were to hit tab, sorry, it would have cycled through those different little placeholder areas. But just a great way to quickly create elements. Another one though that I'm going to use a lot here in this series is going to be the like script. Now to specify attributes, we use square brackets, and then I can say source equals application.js. Now it's important that after I finish typing in application.js, that my keyboard cursor is at the end of this bracket. And then what I can do is I can hit tab, and notice 2 things. First of all, the script tag, it's aware that the script tag should never be self-closing. For whatever reason, in the web, all script tags need to have a specific closing end script tag, but also that the src attribute got added in with the specified value. Another thing is, let's say we wanted to create a div element with a particular ID. Let's say we're doing some React and we want to do a mount node. So all I have to do is say hash mount node and hit tab, and now I have an ID, a div with an ID of mount node. I can do the same thing with classes too. I can do something like .container, and I get that. I can combine the two. Like for example, if I wanted an A tag that was a button, I can say ABTN and then hit tab, and now I have an ahref with whatever I want, followed by its text, and notice that its class got set to BTN. And we can combine this however we want. So for example, small with a class of test, with a class of woe, with an ID of stuff, and hit enter, or not enter, tab, we now have a small element with the class of test and woe and the ID of stuff. So I'm going to be using this a lot when we're writing HTML in this editor, and I hope you guys spend some time, if you're using this editor, to familiarize yourself with this particular feature, because it saves you a whole lot of time. Anyway, that was just a quick aside that I just wanted to throw in there, so other people not writing in code could have skipped to the next video before. But for all you guys who are writing in code, I hope you enjoyed that tip. Anyway, so in the next video, we will be taking a look at local modules, which we'll be spending most of our time writing in this series. So we'll see you guys then.